Hey guys, another fear that robs us of being our true great self in each and every day and at each and every moment is the fear of criticism. This is one where we have to really go within ourselves and say, what is it that we're really afraid of? Why do we care so much about what others are going to say about things that we believe in or things that we want to do? Especially if we want to achieve our dreams, if we really want to be happy, peaceful, successful, and achieve that infinite wealthy state of mind, we have to be willing to go deep and master that fear of criticism. Most of the times, people care very much for us and they're probably worried about us and want to protect us. But we have to be able to say to ourselves, we have to have such strong belief and conviction in what we're doing, in the rightness of what we're doing, and that will give us the strength to take that criticism, use it, and apply it in a successful way. Have a great day.
In today's world, the philanthropy is considered where you give the money to someone, and if you don't give the money, you are a bad person. Somehow you don't care enough. And to me, philanthropy should never be about giving money. Philanthropy should be about solving a problem. So this lady came to me saying, we have done such a good job in our current homeless shelter. We really outgrown it, and now we need to expand it, and we have this capital need, and we want you to donate to it. And I said, instead of asking for a donation, why don't you start to think about like a business? And I am a venture capitalist. And if you came to me saying that give me this money that is going to go out and do something with it, there are only two choices you're giving me. Either you're going to fail in doing what you're doing. In that case, the money is wasted. And if you do succeed, you're going to come back and ask me for more money. So how is that going to be a sustainable business model? And she said, what do you really mean? I say, ask yourself a question just like any other business. What is your product and who is your customer? She looked at me. All she wanted me to do is write a check and not be interviewed. And she said, it's really simple. All I'm selling is the homeless shelter, the place in the homeless shelter, and my customers are my women who come there. And I say, young lady, you have a broken business model. And she said, why? I say, your customers don't pay you. Right. I said, they're not your customer. They are your users. And she said, how else would you think about it? And I said, what if, just like a Facebook, the social networking is not their product. The people who use social networking is the product. You and I are the product, and their customer is the advertisers. In the same way, in a women's shelter, the women are the product, and local businesses are your customers. And the more products you have, the more you can cater to the local businesses. So why don't you go to local businesses and say, I have this amazing product. The women who are so driven that they would go out and do the things you want them to do. You will have a loyal employee. You will teach them the skills, and you will have these people working, and you'll be doing good for the society, and you'll have a loyal employee. And if you do that, the more people you have in your shelter, the higher revenue you're going to have, and you'll be continuing to expand that. And just that thought process, she implemented, and suddenly now they're growing everywhere. Right?
She actually did it?
She actually did it.
Whoa,
Yeah.
I did not think
Yeah,
that was going to be the punchline.
Yeah. So my point is, this is how entrepreneurs really need to be thinking about, and I can give you several examples of that. The problem that is obvious to you may not necessarily be the solution that exists in that problem.
I think entrepreneurs are going to solve every problem. I think whatever problem there is in the world, entrepreneurs are going to be the ones to solve it. And there's definitely a place for government and everything else, but I just default to thinking it's us, it's entrepreneurs, we're going to do it. We see a problem, we want to fix it. Be the change you want to see in the world. And that's really at the crux of a successful business. When people ask me, how do you make money as an entrepreneur? Well, you solve a problem with something that you love doing. If you are solving somebody else's problem that they're struggling with, you can get paid to do it. And if you love doing that thing, then that's how you start having a business, right? That can have success, long-term, sustainable. If you solve a problem, but you don't love doing it, you're gonna end up burning out, phasing out, people will be better than you at it. It won't be sustainable because you don't love the thing. And if you just love the thing, but you're not solving a problem, then you've got a hobby, right? If you love doing something, but it doesn't solve anybody's problem, you've got a hobby. And it could be fulfilling and enriching for the soul, but that's not a business. It's in that combination of what solves a real problem that you enjoy doing, that's how you start to make money. I think one of the biggest problems, though, for entrepreneurs is we don't know what the problem is. We think we know what the problem is, but we don't know what the problem is, especially when it's for ourselves. We think that we know what our problems are, but we don't actually know our problems because we're too in the thing. Have you ever noticed how it's easier to point out somebody else's problems? Like, you should be doing this. You know what's wrong with this business? They should be doing that. But it's harder to look at ourselves and say, here's the biggest problem that I'm facing right now. At least I find this as a challenge. I'm sitting here at Genius Network. This is it's a mastermind, it's a success circle of people who are having 7, 8, 9-figure businesses, and they meet once a month to help each other out. And one of my favorite exercises is when you basically go down and it's called hot seat, and you think about what your biggest problem is, and they put you in groups, and then you're explaining your problem to the other people in your group, and you get suggestions, you get feedback, and these are all, peers, people who've done equally or maybe even more things than you have, and it's great to get, at least I think, a fresh perspective. And so yesterday, one of the members that I was in that group with, he came up and he said, my biggest problem is I need to have more structure in my life. I need to be more intentional with my time. I'm too all over the place. I'm too, creative and I, it's got me this far, but it's not going to be the thing that gets me to the next step. I need to have more discipline and schedule. And the first person started giving him some advice, and she was telling him how she sets her schedule and gives some feedback. And the thing that just kept flowing through my mind, and when it came to me to give advice, I just asked him the question, do you even want this? Do you even want this? And he's like, it sounds like prison. As a guy's actually been in prison before, so he knows what that feels like. He's like, when I think about it, when I talk about it, it feels like I'm in prison. And that is a classic case for a lot of entrepreneurs who want freedom, who are creative, who want to be out. Like, creativity is messy. Creativity is messy. And so you can't be productive and you can't be efficient if you're being creative. And knowing a little bit about him, said, dude, that's not your problem. See, this is where we got caught up in our own traps, in our own thinking, because we can't self-diagnose very well. We often need people to help us. So when he says, my problem is I'm not being intentional enough with my time and I'm wasting a lot of time and I need to be more structured, that's not his problem. In fact, what he needs to do is the exact opposite. He needs to be spending more time in his zone of genius. He needs to be spending more time being creative. He needs to have the freedom to be able to spend 3 days swimming with alpacas, if that's the thing that is in his mind, because it's going to lead to some awesome new creation. That if you take a creative genius like he is and you force him into a structure and a schedule, then he's going to end up in a prison, like he said. And just imagine, if he lives a week like that versus a month like that versus 6 months like that versus a year like that, the more he's trapped in that prison, the less effective he's actually going to be. He might be really efficient and productive for a short amount of time, but he's going to end up hating his life, and he's not going to birth any new creative things into the world, and he's out of his zone of genius. And so his real problem is he doesn't have the person on his team to be that number 2 to take things over. And he hasn't assigned that person the responsibilities or given them permission to be able to run with those things. He's already built the 7-figure business. So it's not like I'm talking to somebody who's brand new startup, doesn't know what he's doing, right? This is a already successful entrepreneur. But again, it's easy to spot the problems in other people's businesses and other people's lives and sometimes in our own. And so the problem was different than the problem that he thought he had. And solving the right problem by getting some perspective will change his life. Just as I was talking and expressing what I thought about him, you could see that he starts to come alive. And at the end, he's like, I feel that. And this is the guy who's really in tune with body and energy. And he's like, I feel that. And he's like touching his heart, as he's doing it. And like, thank you. And what a gift. And so we solved the right problem. And so if you are struggling right now, I think one of the best things you can do is one, model success. So go find the people who've done what you're trying to do and see what resonates. You know, Bill Gates saved my business, even though I've never met him, because I had a software company and I looked at Bill Gates, who started a software company, and that's what I modeled, and it started to work. But I think even more importantly, if you're really struggling right now, is to be around other people who might be able to help. Because you're around some people, even if you're shy and introverted like me, you still have some people around you. The problem is they can't tell you what the problem is. You know, their version of the problem is something you don't want to hear. I don't believe in negative or toxic people. I don't think that's what's going on, but hurt people. So they could be in a lot of pain. They could be hurt. They have a different perspective, one that you don't want their life. You don't respect their opinion on the thing that you're asking about. And so you're just probably around the wrong people. And to be able to change that, to shift that, you might be able to, this group here, one group was $25,000 a year to be in, the other's $100,000 to be in. So you may not be able to afford to go to a group like that, but you don't need it, because you don't need it yet. The most important thing is momentum, to start building, to start being around more positive, optimistic, happy people who you do respect, you can do something with. I made a group called Movement Makers, and every 2 weeks we meet, and these are people who want to be thought leaders, who want to share, want to help, have a message on their heart and need to get out to the world. And it's great to be around me, and I teach and I share and I give my perspective. But the biggest learning, I think, honestly, is by them being connected to each other, by them doing challenges and projects together, by them interviewing each other on their channels, so that they're not alone and they have people to talk to and connect with and feel like this matters and there's some momentum. Because whatever you want to do, the people around you don't understand it, right? If you're an entrepreneur, you're a little bit crazy. It's awesome. Like, high five, I love you, celebrate. But you're a little bit crazy and different, and the people around you don't understand you. And some people might just be supportive, just not know what to tell you. And other people might be straight out negative and say, stop doing that. Be practical, be realistic, go get a job, go to school, go live a safe life. And you don't want that life. And so you need to start being around the people, collect good people who support you, who cheer you on, who believe in you, who say that you can do things, who still push you, but in a positive, loving way forward, as opposed to a negative way down, that makes you feel like things are possible. And so how do you find those people? Well, you could join a group, right? Genius Network might be a fit for you if you've got a big budget. Movement Makers might be a fit for you if you're trying to be a thought leader. But actively look for people, actively look for events and conferences and groups, even if it's a free meetup group at the beginning. Like, actively look to be around people who are close to you, or online groups that you can join, but that are around the same interests as you. Because when you're around the people who are trying to do the same thing that you are trying to do, even if they haven't quite done it yet, it's not only mentoring where they've done it and they're showing you the ropes, even if they're trying to do it and you're trying to do it, to be around people who are ambitious, who want to chase down their dream and goals and achieve something, right, and make something of their lives. If you're around those people, it will just fill you with more energy. It will fill you with more energy and make you feel like hope is possible. That'll be my immediate action item. To, yes, have the environment, pay attention to who you subscribe to on YouTube and who you follow on Instagram, and the books that you're reading and the content you're consuming. Does it lift you up? Does it make you feel belief and give you hope and strategies and tactics on what to actually do? And look at your circle. Are you with the right people? And if not, then just don't make it some big thing that you have to go join this giant group that's super expensive. Just start with, who can I talk to right now? Who's trying to do this thing with me too? Who's even at my level that I can build and grow and learn with? And if you just switch your mindset to start to look, to start to search, to go to Google and type in your city and look for groups, or to think about the industry you want to be in, like how to be a thought leader or how to be a XYZ, whatever it is that you are in, whatever your business is, and to find groups of people who are doing it. You want to be the Toastmasters for speakers or whatever it is, there's a group to just join and try it. Because, man, when you are around people who are doing things, it just breathes so much more life, energy, and momentum into your mission.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. If you want to see my
Good morning, guys. Today in our top 10 rules for success, Oprah Winfrey shares with us her 6th rule for success. And this is a huge one. Believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, and if you don't believe in what you're doing, the activating power of our mind is nullified. So we cannot use the full power of our mind if we don't believe that we can do it. She shares with us an example growing up, and uses the example of her grandmother. Her grandmother was a maid, and her grandmother was trying to give her advice on how she can also become a maid. Oprah Winfrey can become a maid one day. And Oprah just knew from a young age, 4 to 5 years old, she knew that there was something more for her. She felt it in her gut, in her heart, and in her soul. She just knew this wasn't going to be for her. She knew she was meant for something greater. And we all are. But we got to believe it so much that nothing can take away that belief. Have a great day, everybody.
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know you've got so much more inside you. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and get some incredible motivation from the one and only Joe Dispenza. Enjoy.
Change is so hard. So then let's offer another alternative. Well, when you begin to create from the field instead of from matter, the only way you can do that is you have to learn how to take all of your attention off your body and become a nobody. Take all of your attention off all the people in your life that you give so much of your attention and energy to because you have an emotion associated with them. And get beyond all the people in your life and go from a someone to a no one. Mm-hmm. Now, if you've worked your whole life being a someone, or if you've been working your whole life thinking that you're your body, you're going to have to work a little harder because that's your identity. Sure. That's what you're associated with. And
it's a long time of conditioning that you have to unwind.
And if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. So then you have to go get beyond all the things in your life, your cell phone, your computer, your car, and literally go from something to nothing. You have to take all your attention off the place you work, the place you live, the place you need to be, the place you're sitting, and go from somewhere to nowhere. You got to stop thinking about the predictable future and the familiar past and go right into the present moment and go from some time to no time. And if you do that properly, you become pure consciousness. And that's how you enter the field. Now, we've done the research on this. We call it getting beyond the self. Now, once you are pure consciousness, you're taking all of your attention off this three-dimensional reality. Now, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So if you've taken all of your attention off of everything material, there's only one place you're going to wind up, and that is the immaterial realm called the quantum field, an invisible field of energy that unifies and connects everything material. So now when you're creating from the field and you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, and you're connected and you feel connected, the suggestion of an alternative way to create is that when there's a vibrational match between your energy and some future reality, you actually no longer have to go anywhere to get it. You're actually the vortex, and you will collapse space and time and draw the experience to you. Now that, to me, is a lot more fun because the experience is the unknown. You can't predict when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, because if you can predict it, it's the known. So then you have to lay down the very thing you use your whole life to get what you want for something greater to occur. Now that goes against generations untold of conditioning and a lifetime of habituation, believing that we're trapped in this material world. And yet I can say to you without a doubt that once you understand that formula, and once you know how to create that kind of brain and heart coherence, the side effect of that is a change in biology, neurologically, chemically, hormonally, genetically. We've measured it. We've seen gene regulation changes in 4 days. More brain coherence, more heart coherence. Your brain's working better. You're trusting your heart. It's open. There's different chemicals that are released. Oxytocin suppresses survival centers, resets the baseline of a person's trauma or shock. Your immune system goes up. Mm-hmm. You lengthen your telomeres. We've measured that too. So you're changing the future of your body. You're extending your life. That's evidence, right? So we have the evidence to know that it could happen because we've measured it. But the real evidence is watching the testimonial of someone who says, I had stage 4 cancer. I was told as a 41-year-old woman that I wouldn't live for more than 2 months. And I have no evidence of cancer in my body at all. Or someone that's a physician who has Parkinson's disease that's tried everything from the medical route and has one transcendental moment and their tremors and their pain are gone. Then now they're chewing food, they're swallowing, they're blowing their nose, they're standing up on their own. That's energy affecting matter. So we have hundreds and hundreds of testimonials of people that not only healed their body, but created pretty profoundly magical things in their life. So you have evidence in the scientific world, you have evidence in the practical world, and evidence is the loudest voice right now.
The brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything we've learned and experienced to this moment. So most people wake up in the morning and they think about their problems, and their problems are memories that are etched in their brain that are connected to certain people and certain problems at certain times and certain places. And the moment they start thinking of their problems, they're thinking in the past. The challenge is that every one of those problems has an emotion associated with it, and emotions really are a record of the past. So the moment you feel unhappy, the moment you feel suffering, the moment you feel fear, now your body's in the past. So it's the thought being the language of the brain and the feeling being the language of the body, and how we think and how we feel creates our state of being. So many people reaffirm their state of being completely by the past. And so it only takes a thought and a feeling, an image and emotion, a stimulus and response to start the conditioning process. So we start to condition the brain and body, hardwire the brain, condition the body emotionally into the past. The problem is the body's so objective that it doesn't know the difference between the real life experience that's creating the emotion and the emotion we're creating by memory alone. The body's believing it's living in the same past environment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So then the person gets up and then they run through the same routine as they always do. And in time, their body moves into a state of autopilot. Now their body is a set of programs, a habit that's dragging them into the same future based on what they did in the past. And so to change then also requires being greater than the emotions that have been conditioned into the body and the habituations that have been conditioned into the body in the predictable future. So we have to understand then that change requires not only being greater than the environment, but also being greater than our body, which is really for the most part been conditioned to be the mind. That's what a habit is. So then to change then, to be greater than the body, to be greater than the environment, and be greater than time, instead of living in the familiar past, which is the known, and the predictable future, which is the known, you teach people how to settle into the present moment, and that's the unknown. And most people, that the unknown represents a very threatening place. And so when people start to do meditation, as an example, and their body starts looking for an arousal or wants to get up and do things, they think they can't meditate. But in fact, if they can settle their body back down into the present moment and lower the volume to that anger, to that frustration, to the fear, to the sadness,
It's like training an animal. Now you're telling the body it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. And our research shows there's a liberation of energy. The body starts expanding and relaxing into the present moment. Instead of getting up and checking your cell phone or doing something, and you notice that propensity, instead of responding to it and say, I can't meditate, you settle your body back down into the present moment. Now you're executing a will that's greater than the program, because most people lose their free will to a set of programs. And it's the act of doing this, to be greater than the conditions of our environment, to be greater than our body as the mind, and to be greater than time, that all of a sudden causes the person to start believing in themselves a little bit more. And that's when possibility starts to unfold. If your brain is a record of the past, and you are living by the same emotions that have defined you for the last 10 years, and you keep thinking the same thoughts that make the same chemicals, and those same chemicals drive the same thoughts, then your body, as the unconscious mind, does not know the difference between an actual experience in your life that creates an emotion and an emotion that you're creating by thought alone. And so your body is believing it's in the same past experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And your body is programmed into the past. And you can't create a new future holding on to the emotions of the past. How many people understand what I'm talking about? So then, when you react to someone or something in your life, you have a choice. That when an event changes how you feel, there's a chemical change that's taking place in your body. And most people don't think they can control their emotional reactions. And so then when you react to some coworker or some relative or somebody in traffic, the moment you react emotionally, you are altered chemically. And if you don't know how to control your emotional reaction after that event, and you allow those emotions to linger for hours or days, you know what that's called? That's called a mood. Hey, Juanito, what's wrong with you? Oh, I'm in a mood. Really? Why are you in a mood? Well, this thing happened to me 4 days ago, and I'm having one long emotional reaction. And if you keep that same refractory period going on for weeks or months, that's called a temperament. Hey, why is she so angry? I don't know. Why are you so angry? Why are you so bitter? Why are you so enchilada? Because I had this experience 7 months ago, and I'm memorizing my emotional reaction. And if you keep that same refractory period going on for years on end, that's called a personality trait. And people wear their emotions on their sleeve, and that's who they think they are. And they will talk about the past to validate why they're not creating the life that they want. So then if you wake up in the morning, Mexico City, and you are not being defined by a vision that's bigger than you, and it doesn't get you out of bed and inspire you into possibility, and you get up living from the old hardware of the past and the old emotions stored in your body, do you know what's going to happen to you? You're going to wake up and you're going to open your eyes and you're going to see the same people and go to the same places and do the exact same thing at the exact same time. And the moment you open your eyes, all of a sudden now, it's your external environment that's controlling how you think and feel. Because you have a neurological network in your brain for every person you know, every place that you go, everything that you own, everything that you do. And the moment you open your eyes and you see the same people and go to the same places and do the exact same thing at the exact same time, it's your external environment that's turning on different circuits in your brain, causing you to think equal to everything that you know. And you told me you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny. And as long as you're thinking equal to your environment, you keep creating the same life. To change, to truly change, is to think greater than your environment, to think greater than the circumstances in your life, to think greater than the conditions in your world. And every great person in history knew this. Whether it was Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, the Wright brothers, Joan of Arc, they all had a vision.
When is the last time you sat with your heart and just worked with it? Like, so that it's not contracted and afraid and protected. It takes practice to do that. And so we work with people in letting them, we give them numerous opportunities to practice this over and over and over again. And sooner or later, petal by petal, it starts to bloom, and all of a sudden, there's an authentic smile on their face. And once energy meets the heart, it goes right to the brain. We did this study where we hooked up an electrocardiogram to an electroencephalogram. And an electroencephalogram is a brain mapping machine. So we measure 19 or 26 different compartments, and we're looking to see all different kind of activity in the brain. But we measured the heart along with it, and when the heart starts beating coherently, in a sense of order, like taking a big sheet, Jay, and going like that. The heart sends a wave right up to the brain, and the brain goes into these beautiful states of alpha. The heart is telling the brain it's safe to create again. It's safe to imagine. It's safe to dream of a new future. And there's the stroke volume of the heart in order, and then you see these 2 or 3 seconds of beautiful, coherent alpha. The brain is it's in that creative state. Then there's a pause, and it happens again, and it's beauty. It's a symphony. If you don't have that mechanism, you can have all the intention in the world, but there's no carrier wave. I mean, and people, when they make energy reach their heart, there's an external field that's created. It's magnetic. It's measurable, and that energy is frequency. And if that frequency is coherent, it can carry the intent or thought on a coherent brain of that future. The energy of suffering cannot carry the thought of health or wealth. It's not consistent with it. It carries a different set of thoughts. So then the training then is getting people into those heart states, because once they start trading that fear or that pain or that frustration or trying or whatever, forcing, control, for gratitude, and they just let all that go. And I say to them, listen, if you can't feel gratitude, or if you can't feel love, I just want to know what you've been practicing feeling every day. Because that feeling that you're practicing is what you're always feeling. Now let's practice feeling something else. In the beginning, it's not going to be easy, but you got to keep following the formula, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Well, when they start feeling gratitude, it's very interesting, because the emotional signature of gratitude is that something wonderful just happened to you. Something favorable is happening to you, right? So you've just received something, or you're receiving something, you say thank you. So gratitude is the ultimate state of receiving emotionally. So when you move into a state of gratitude and you open your heart, you will accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts equal to that emotional state, and you'll program your autonomic nervous system into a different destiny. You could say, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, and your body is conditioned into misery, and it's saying, no, you're not. And that thought stops right at the brainstem. It never makes it to the body, because the body is on a different program. So then, when the person starts trading that and they start opening their heart, well, their immune system gets stronger by 50%. 50% in 3 days, they start making immunoglobulins. Their body's natural defense against viruses and bacteria is 50%, not a little bit, a lot. That's one study. And so trading that, telling the body it's in the environment where it already happened. And so that's when the miracles start happening. That's when people say, I'm not doing anything. Well, of course you're not. You don't have to.
Your personality creates your personal reality. That's it. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So the present personality who's listening to this podcast has created the present personal reality called their life. So if you believe what I just said, then in order for you to create a new personal reality, a new life, you're going to have to change your personality. In other words, nothing changes in your life until you change. That's the way it is. So it turns out the 90% of the thoughts that we think on a daily basis are the same thoughts as the day before. Same thoughts lead to the same choices. Same choices lead to the same behaviors. Same behaviors create the same experiences. The same experiences produce the same feelings and the same emotions. And those same feelings and emotions begin to influence our very same thoughts. And our biology, our neurocircuitry, our neurochemistry, our hormones, our gene expression, our immune system, all stay the same because we're staying the same. So then there's a principle in neuroscience that says that nerve cells that fire together, wire together. You keep thinking the same thoughts, you keep making the same choices, you keep doing the same things, you keep creating the same experiences that stamp the same networks of neurons into the same exact patterns, all for the reaffirming of the same feeling, and you do that for 10 years on end. The firing and wiring of those circuitries begins to hardwire the brain into a very finite signature. That box in the brain that's created is the same level of mind. And if you keep doing that, it becomes automatic. It turns out that 95% of who we are by the time we're in the middle of our life is a set of memorized behaviors, automatic emotional reactions, constant habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, perceptions that have happened just because we've just fired and wired it the same way. So there's a good possibility then, in order for us to change, we better start thinking about what we've been thinking about and change it. We have to become conscious of our unconscious habits and behaviors and modify them. We got to look at these feelings that we feel every single day, and instead of just thinking it's a feeling, say, what is this? Is this guilt? Is this sadness? Is this unhappiness? Is this pain? Is it frustration? Is it resentment? What is the feeling that I'm living by the majority of my day? Now, that's lighting a match in a dark place. In neuroscience, it's called metacognition. The word meditation means to become familiar with. That's what it means. So the more familiar with you are, I can't, it's too hard, I'm never going to change, it's my ex's fault, it's my boss's fault, it's my country's fault, it's the government, it's the weather, it's my pain, whatever that thought is that you accept, believe, and surrender to on a daily basis that's automatic, you have to become so conscious of that unconscious thought that it doesn't slip by your awareness unnoticed. You got to catch yourself saying, I'm tired, I'm unhappy, it's someone else's fault. Do you complain? Do you blame? Do you make excuses? Do you feel sorry for yourself? That personality has to change in order to create a new life. So then you have to become so aware of your unconscious habits that you don't go unconscious to them in your waking day. Then you got to sit in the fire of those emotions. And you got to watch those emotions come up, and you have to sit with them and know that there's something on the other side of them. Now, this is where most people get up and say, I can't meditate, or I'm going to call up my friend, or I'm going to get on social media and make a post. I'm going to turn on the football game. I'm going to get distracted because I need something out there to make this go away. And what we're saying is we're not relying on anything out there. That's the hypnosis. That's the conditioning. We want you to just become so familiar with that feeling that you catch yourself in your waking day. The moment you start feeling sad and your energy drops, you catch yourself. So there's an unlearning process, or a breaking the habit of being the old self process that requires a lot of attention, a lot of awareness, and it takes energy. You got to stay conscious, right? If you think about great leaders in history that changed the course of many different cultures, what they did that was so important is they had a vision of that future. And they were able to have other people come out of their resting emotional state and begin to see that vision that they were seeing and move them into an elevated emotional state. And when they changed their energy, those people could share that same vision. Well, if you combine a clear intention and an elevated emotion, those two ingredients change people's state of being. Now the person has just moved biologically from living in the past to living in a new future in the present moment. And that's what caused millions of people to begin to make different choices, to behave differently, to do different things. And if you get enough people doing that because of mirror neurons, everybody's observing everybody do it, and you create a collective consciousness. And great leaders have the ability to, based on core principles, whether it's justice or freedom or equality, to have people see that same vision and then move them out of their resting state into an elevated emotion. And then when they do that properly, those people can see that vision. If you can't change a person's energy, they'll never see that vision, because they'll be viewing the future through the lens of the past, the emotions of the past. And so great leaders have the ability to have people begin to see the same vision.
How does the person become the person they are, and why do they keep their health condition the same? And well, most people, your brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything you've learned and experienced to this moment. So most people wake up in the morning, if you think that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, they start thinking about their problems. And those problems are just memories that are etched in their brain that are connected to certain people and objects and certain things at certain times and places. And the moment they start thinking about their problems, they're thinking in the past. Now, because every one of those problems has an emotion associated with them, the moment they start feeling unhappy or feeling sad, now their body's in the past, because thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body, and how we think and how we feel creates our state of being. Now, the problem is that the person thinks of the problem, feels the emotion, and that is a thought and a feeling. That's an image and an emotion. It's a stimulus and response, and that starts the conditioning process to get the body emotionally conditioned into the past. Now, here's the crazy part about that. The familiar past emotionally is producing dramatic effects on the body, because the body is so objective that it does not know the difference between the real life experience that's creating that emotion and the emotion that person is fabricating by thought or memory alone. The body's believing it's living in the same past experience 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And the problem with that is that the environment signals the gene. That's epigenetics. And the end product of an experience and the environment is an emotion. So the person is keeping the same gene regulated because the body's believing it's living in the same environmental conditions. So getting that person to step outside of that familiar known territory into the unknown, where there is uncertainty, and have them be comfortable there and begin to think about how they are going to think.
The new model of reality is about causing an effect. That means then you have to feel gratitude every day for your new experience to occur. You can't wait for your success to feel empowered. You have to be empowered to create the success. And when you teach people how to do this, and they move into a new state of being, they begin to create the life that they want. How many people are still with me? But to the materialists, they would say, well, no, I'm going to wait for my money to come, and then I'm going to give thanks. And those people pretty much are living by the emotions of the past. And if you're living by the emotions of the past, you are viewing your future through the lens of the past, and your vision will fade. Because when you bring up an elevated emotion, you will see the vision clearly. And leaders in history that changed the world knew how to change a culture. Look at Martin Luther King. He talked about justice and then got enough people inspired that they felt empowered enough to do something about it. People came out of their resting state. And so then you share the same brain as Martin Luther King.
And being defined by a vision of the future begins to change a culture. But most people have the same thoughts or the same intentions, and they live by the same familiar emotions, and for the most part, they're in their past. Well, the brain is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a record of your environment. So it begs the question, does the environment control your thinking, or does your thinking control the environment? So if you wake up every morning and you do the same things, and you go to the same places, and you see the same people, and you react in the same way, and you perform the same behaviors, it really is the external environment that's turning on different circuits in your brain, causing you to think equal to everything that you know. And as long as you keep thinking equal to everything you know that's familiar and the same, according to the quantum model, you keep creating more of the same. To change, then, is to think greater than our environment, to think greater than the conditions in our world. The hardest part about change is not making the same choice as you did the day before. When you decide to make a different choice, whether it's to change something that you eat or to exercise or to no longer react to certain people or conditions in your life, remember, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Now, that's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. That means you're in the unknown. And when you step into the unknown, you're going through dramatic changes in your own personal biology. When you're in that place of uncertainty, that place of unpredictability, that void, that unknown, ask yourself, what thoughts do you want to believe in and fire and wire in your brain? What behaviors would you like to demonstrate that's equal to a vision of the future? Close your eyes and rehearse them. Review every step. No different than an athlete beginning to rehearse what they're about to do. The act of rehearsing it begins to prime your brain to prepare you for that behavior in your future. And then finally, can you teach your body emotionally what that future is going to feel like before it happens? And when you begin to fall into the present moment and marry those intentions with an elevated emotion, your body is believing it's living in that future reality in the present moment, and you're changing your biology from living in your past present reality to living in your future present reality. And your job then is to be able to maintain that modified state of mind and body your entire day. And if you can, get ready, because something unusual is going to happen in your life. It's the law. If you think about gratitude, when you receive something favorable or you just receive something favorable, if something's happening to you or something just happened to you that you are excited about, you feel grateful. So the emotional signature of gratitude means that it's already happened or something wonderful is happening to you. Now, the body is so objective that it does not know the difference between a real life experience that's creating that emotion and that emotion that you're fabricating by thought alone. So the body's believing it's living in an environmental condition that's favorable to you. And we only accept, believe, and surrender to thoughts that are equal to our emotional state. So in the state of gratitude, your body is more prone to be programmed through its autonomic nervous system into a different destiny. And the research that we've done on our research team shows that just 4 days of feeling gratitude can strengthen your immune system by 50% by releasing an immunoglobulin called immunoglobulin A, which is the body's primary defense against bacteria and viruses. It's better than any flu shot, and it's the body's natural capacity. So when we trade anger and frustration and fear and anxiety and pain and suffering and guilt for an elevated emotion, the autonomic nervous system starts to regulate back into homeostasis and balance. And of course, stress is when the autonomic nervous system is knocked out of homeostasis and balance. It's dysregulation. So we teach people how to give thanks for the things that they create in their life actually before it happens. And when we do that properly, we start to see measurable changes in the person's body and measurable changes in their energy and ultimately measurable changes in their life. So the concept of presence is such an important concept because I think that paying attention is being present, and it's a skill just like anything else. The more you practice it,
the better you get at it. And I think we know when people are present with us in our lives is because they're paying attention to us. And we know when they're not present with us because they're not paying attention. Well, where you place your attention is where you place your energy, bottom line. So if you're thinking about what's going to happen in the next moment or what's going to happen in a day, or you're reviewing what's something that happened 3 days ago, you're placing your attention in some future scenario or some past memory. And we siphon energy out of the present moment, and we don't have available energy then to really begin to create an outcome in our lives. But if we're truly present and we're relaxed and poised in the present moment, if where you place your attention is where you place your energy, then you have a lot of energy in the present moment to execute, a lot of energy in the present moment to make decisions. The more you do this, the more you experience those moments of flow, the synchronicities, the serendipities, the opportunities, the coincidences, because there's a lot of power in the present moment. So one of the key elements in the creative process is teaching people how to relax into the present moment. So if a person is thinking about their problems, and those problems are memories that are etched in their brain that are connected to certain people and objects and things at certain times and places, the moment they think about their problems, say first thing in the morning when they wake up, if you believe your thoughts have something to do with your destiny and your brain is a record of the past, the moment you remember your problems, you're thinking in the past. And because every problem has an emotion associated because you experience it, the moment you feel unhappy, now your body's in the past. So thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body. And how we think and how we feel creates our state of being. So most people unconsciously start their day with their entire state of being biologically in the past. And again, the body's so objective, it doesn't know the difference between the real life experience and the emotion that you're creating by thought alone. So that past, that familiar past, is called the known. And if you wake up in the morning and you start thinking about the predictable future and the people you have to see and the places you have to go and the things you have to do in your routine, predictable life, the same exact thing happens. You're imagining that future scenario that's already known to you, and you're anticipating the feeling of that outcome. So that becomes, the predictable future becomes the known as well. So if the familiar past is the known and the predictable future is the known, there's only one place where the unknown exists, and that's the sweet spot of the generous present moment. And teaching people how to create from the present moment is what begins to produce the magic and the changes that take place in their lives. So in order to
Morning, guys. I want to share an example with you from Les Brown again today in his life. I was listening to his speech at the Georgia Dome this morning, and he gives an example of how we can fight this fear of criticism. And his example is when he finally made it. He finally ended up on television, achieved his dream, and Mr. Washington, an old high school teacher, called him up and said to him, "It was you, wasn't it? You were the one." And Les Brown, when he realized that, he was so fulfilled, of course, and so happy. But one of the funniest things, and I try to remember this when we're attacked or we're criticized or we might think that people are crazy, Mr. Washington said to him, "But you were so crazy," in high school when Les Brown was young. And Les just says to him, or says to himself, "Yeah, but I'm so rich now." And I thought, wow, that's amazing. You know, that's the attitude. It doesn't matter what people think, how crazy we are. We got to find our happiness. Have a great day, everybody.
So when you think a deliberate thought of what you want, then law of attraction will employ the universe and all people, circumstances, and events to move you to what you've asked for and to move what you've asked for to you. And so if you think about that, there is just action would be really, really hard for you to reach all of the people, circumstances, and events, manipulate all of them to receive what you want. And if you really reflect well on your life and things that have happened in your life, you'll kind of see that actually that happened for me. All I did was move to here, or all I did was move to there, and I received what I wanted. Thought creates all of the appearances in the world, and thought creates everything in your life. So it's pretty darn powerful, right? And what you think about is what you get. What you focus on is what will manifest in your life. And everyone is manifesting their day every single day. We're doing it. We are not aware, of course, necessarily of thoughts, but thoughts come, we energize them, and then they will manifest unless we cancel that thought out with another thought, with a thought that contradicts it. But I remember Lester Levinson would say, every single thought manifests. And I just thought that was incredible. I had known the secret for years and years and years. And Lester Levinson was a real master. And he said every single thought manifests. And I was just, wow, that's how powerful they are. So thoughts are your superpower. To be, do, and have what you want to experience and have and do in your life. And so if you ask an athlete, or if you talk to a coach, a really brilliant coach, right, of a sports team, then you will find that visualization and these principles that I'm talking about are a big part of their training. They have to see themselves winning the game. They have to see themselves winning the match. There is a really incredible tennis player that's a very big fan, a champion tennis player that's a really big fan of The Secret, who uses The Secret. This is what he does. He sees that he has won the match before he walks out onto that court. And it's the same for teams. It's the same for athletes in the Olympic Games, running a race and seeing that they've won. Yes, they run the race, but what has them win the race is that they saw themselves winning before they even got on the starting block. And they saw it and believed it and felt it. And so they just, everything lined up for them in the perfect way. They drew the perfect lane. Everybody else was moved in exactly the right position, and they got a really great start and they won the race. And so thought is just so powerful. So athletes, but also, do you know, the astronauts in the Apollo program did visualization before they went to the moon, and they visualized landing back on Earth safely. And so that's how important visualization is. Just thought in pictures, by the way. It's still thought. It's just the same thing, okay? It's just thought in pictures. So if you took a person who had zero resistance and you locked them in a room, if you took a person that had zero resistance, that person thought about what they wanted, zero resistance, locked them in a room, what they wanted will come to them. The universe will move people, circumstances, and events and bring that right to them. It absolutely must. Because if you have no resistance, you have unleashed a law that just cannot be stopped. And so you will manifest. It will come to you.
Need motivation?
Watch your top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Rhonda Byrne, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, welcome negative emotions.
In my latest book, The Greatest Secret, the most important practice in that book, without a doubt, is welcoming negative emotions, because when you welcome any negative emotion, you are dissolving it from within your body, from within the subconscious mind. The next time, say for example, if it was anger, the next time you feel anger, it's not nearly as bad. You welcome again. The time after that, it's reducing until it's not possible for you to feel anger anymore. And with that anger gone from your body, the health of your body is working brilliantly. But 2, you will just manifest like you can't believe, like just a single little flimsy thought, and it will manifest. So getting rid of negative emotions. Also, negative emotions are covering over your basic nature, which is happiness. And all of this I explain in The Greatest Secret. I explain it all in here. And so, yeah, it's your basic nature. So negative emotions are covering up your happiness. So to get rid of those emotions is really, really important. So now I wanted to explain that to everybody who doesn't know about the welcoming process. And now let me explain the welcoming process to you. What we tend to do with negative emotions is we tend to resist them because they don't feel good, right? And so we want to push them away. We don't want to feel them. We don't want to feel fear. We don't want to feel disappointment, impatience, and anger. And so we'll push them away. We think we're pushing them away, but in actual fact, we're pushing them down here into our body, into the subconscious mind. And they act like a pressure cooker. They're causing harm to the body, but they also act like a pressure cooker in that they need to release some energy so that because they're just about to burst. And so they'll find something in the world, an emotion will find something in the world to get angry about, to release the pressure in your body. And so welcoming is the opposite to resisting. You're pushing them away. Now you're not going to do that. Now you're going to welcome the negative emotion. So when a negative emotion arises, basically what you're going to do is kind of do nothing. You know, really, welcoming is just stopping us from resisting. What I do is I imagine that emotion is a really, really good friend of mine, and I'm just allowing it to be here. I'm allowing it to be here in the body. And I just imagine that it's a friend, and I put my arms around it. And as you welcome it or allow it to be here, something absolutely incredible happens. It just dissolves. It just dissolves. And in that moment, you have managed to get rid of a whole lot of that negative emotion in your body. And so that's why this is the most incredible process, because A, you will get happier and happier. B, every desire you've ever wanted will be fulfilled. And C, you will have the most incredible life, a life free of fear, and knowing who you are and understanding the incredible power you have in the world. So just imagine that you have a friend and you're putting your arms around a friend. That is how I do it. But also too, something you can do is, I'll just make sure you can see my arms. What you can do is just open your arms up like this, because opening your arms like this sort of opens the whole chest area, and that automatically makes you stop resisting, right? And you open like this, and you will feel that negative emotion dissolve.
Rule number 3, keep your mind open.
For all of us, you know, and we've been conditioned, you know. I mean, you were very fortunate because you had a childhood where your mind was opened and you were opened and your heart was opened. And that's the biggest thing, is to open yourself to the possibility that everything isn't the way it appears to be. And so even if you can just open yourself to that possibility just for a moment, you can pick up it all the next day. You can take it all with you the next day, that it's all real and everything that you're seeing. But if you just for a moment open to the possibility that things might not be the way that you think they are, then you have the greatest opportunity to really discover something incredible, how incredible you are.
Rule number 4, believe.
Everything is possible, when you believe. That's the kind of kicker. You have to believe. But it's not that hard. It's really pretty easy. Our belief creates our entire life experience. And so you can't, if I put it this way, you can't experience anything in life that is outside of your own beliefs. So, and that's the case for every single one of us. We really can't experience anything that's outside of our beliefs. If we can't experience anything that's outside of our beliefs, what that means is, look at all those hearts, that's so beautiful. What that means is there's not really one world. We kind of think there's one world, but there isn't really, because we're all experiencing a world based on our beliefs, and not one of us has the same beliefs, not one of us. So that means there's a different world for every one of us. So all of your beliefs are held in your subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is just a part of your mind. There's the conscious mind, and then there's the subconscious mind, which is actually higher than the conscious mind. And so we use our conscious mind with all of the thoughts and everything that we have. Our conscious mind is very present, right? And so to create anything, you are using your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is really what creates. If I want to make it really, really simple, then I would say your subconscious mind is what creates. It makes things appear and manifests things. And that's where all of your beliefs are stored. Kind of neat, huh? Because you have to believe to manifest something, and your subconscious mind creates everything. So you can see it's all kind of perfectly designed. So now to manifest, you have to believe. And you have to believe that you already have whatever it is that you want. And the reason that you have to believe you have it already is because the subconscious mind is only operating in the present. It can't reason. It's just like a program. So if you say, for example, a new car is coming, my new car is coming, I'm going to get a new car, it's coming. Well, then it's always going to be coming, right? That's the thing. You have to imagine you have it now. You have to go off and you have to test drive the car. You've got to feel the car, smell the car, and just then visualize being in that car. And then when you do that, that's how, if you do that enough, that's how you'll come to believe that you actually have the car. And the moment that you believe, there's manifestations instantaneous. So the other ways to believe is to affirm over and over and over. So to be really repetitive, for example, to visualize. And visualizing is incredibly powerful, because when we close our eyes and we put ourselves in the picture, and you must make sure you're in the picture, and you put yourself in the picture with whatever it is that you want, and you close your eyes and you just kind of create this mini movie. Honestly, the subconscious mind does not know that you're imagining it, has no idea. It just sees that movie and recreates it. It's like a giant photocopying machine. It will just, whatever you hold in your mind, it will photocopy it, boom, into the world. So if you are thinking about something in the future, it's always going to be in the future. So you have to imagine that you have it now. You have to act as if. And for example, if you wanted to attract a perfect partner, are you acting as if your perfect partner's here already? And so there are just small things that you can do that are super, super powerful. For example, are you sleeping in the middle of your bed, or are you sleeping on one side of the bed because your partner's on the other side of the bed? Do you have room in your wardrobe for your perfect partner's clothes? Is there room in your bathroom for their toothbrush and for their things? And so you see, they are just little things. You can set the table for two. You don't have to put food on the plate, but just setting the table for two is really, really powerful. It's saying my perfect partner's here already, and the subconscious mind will believe it, and your perfect partner will be attracted to you through the most incredible circumstances. So if something hasn't manifested yet and you really, really want it, and I doubt there's anybody out there who wants something and it hasn't manifested, right? I mean, I'll tell you the reason why it hasn't manifested is because you don't believe you have it.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, eliminate doubt.
Doubt comes from the mind, and they're just thoughts, and the reason that they're appearing is because you have a belief that is saying that you don't have this already. But just don't give those doubts any energy, and work harder on feeling that you have your manifestation, because when you believe you have your manifestation, no thoughts of doubt will come. When you believe you have it, you have overridden any other belief in the subconscious mind. You've reprogrammed your subconscious, and then it will manifest. So just remind yourself that you are the power that creates everything. Effortlessly. You are that power. So just take it. It's not an effort. It's really easy. You know, it's really easy. Just take it easy. Let go of the doubtful thoughts.
Rule number 6, observe your thoughts.
How do we break that negative thought pattern?
Right. The mind is like a computer program. So, and the fact that it's on a negative loop is because we programmed it on a negative loop. But we could have been influenced when we were children and things like that. So one of the things that the mind loves repetition. I mean, loves it. If you really watch your thoughts, this is the same old thoughts over and over again. It's just kind of dishing up the same old thing. So it loves repetition. So the way you can override a program is to put in the opposite, and when you start out, you feel like you're lying, you'll say something like, you might be really broke. Gee, I was when I was making The Secret. So you might not have any money, and you're trying to instill, wealth and prosperity and riches. And every time you say it, you feel a contraction in your body because you don't have it. But, truly, because I did it myself, after a while you change it. You really begin to change it, and you don't quite have that contraction anymore. And then you start to see money coming in, in different ways. Or you can be given things that you were going to buy, and now you don't have to buy it. Or so you start to see signs of land. Is one of the great new thought writers would say, talk about a sign of land. So you start to see sign of land. Now that's what I did in The Secret. You can do gratitude. That will turn everything around. That will make you feel good. That will get you off the negative rant. But those negative thoughts are coming from beliefs held in the subconscious mind, right? That's
where do the beliefs stem from for most of us?
They stem mostly from our childhood, conditioning. Yeah. Our parents said something to us. We just swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker. We're like, right, that's a belief. And so we take it in, and then we have all these beliefs that and you can hear, if you're talking to somebody, like if somebody says, oh, I believe da 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 da, or because we say that all the time, or somebody says, I think da 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 da. Behind those two statements are going to be a belief. And so the really interesting thing, they're hard to spot because you believe they're true.
They seem real, right? Yeah.
So you don't think they're a belief. You think they're real, and so they can be hard to spot. But if you start to listen to yourself, I believe, or I think, or especially look at the things that you have a really strong opinion about. Because where you have a really strong opinion is a belief that's underneath that. So one of the things that in the latest book is that I show how to dissolve those beliefs, and just really by some of the things that I've just mentioned, and you can dissolve them, and you just feel free every time a belief goes out. You feel completely free. You know, it's amazing feeling. You just feel as light as a feather, and actually you feel invincible.
Rule number 7, stop resisting things.
The welcoming practice sounds counterintuitive, that you would welcome something, right, that you don't want. It's like, whoa, hang on a minute. That doesn't make any sense. It does when I explain this to you, is that when something that we don't want appears, we resist it. And if you remember in The Secret, what you resist persists. And so if you're resisting something you don't want, it will never go away. Welcoming is the opposite to resisting. Welcoming stops you from resisting. That's why it's so brilliant. Because resistance is not fab, really. But even that idea of resistance not being fab is something to welcome. That thought is something to welcome. And just welcome that thought, and then that thought will completely dissolve instead of building up inside of you, and the mind saying, yeah, resistance isn't any good. Yeah, you know, the mind adding a whole lot of other thoughts. So that's a perfect example of welcoming. Now, what I did just then, because I've welcomed for the last 4 years, what I did just then, I felt it completely dissolve in my chest, that thought. The feeling that was behind that thought just completely dissolved, and now that is gone. So it's that easy.
Rule number 8, go with the flow.
I love going with the flow. I really do, because I have found that life will present to me manifestations far greater than I could ever imagine with my mind. And so I'm really just these days letting everything go, because life does a way better job than me. I can't even think of things that are more fantastic than what life does.
Rule number 9, believe in abundance.
I had this belief that I did not have an abundant amount of money, and that I was always in struggle. And that came from my parents, bless them, you know, they're beautiful. But that came from them, you know, we can't afford it and all of those things. So I was brought up with that, as many of us are. So the one that I had the biggest thing to overcome, the biggest thing to overcome was the belief in lack of money. And I knew I needed to overcome that for The Secret to sweep the world. All the things I was going to buy, you know, when the money came in. So I did all of these lists, and I imagined that I had those things already. And I remember it was like, I want a house on the ocean. I really went all out, you know, that was just some list. One of the things I remember is that I'd always wanted a Range Rover all of my life, and that was just beyond anything I could afford. And especially in Australia, like, they were crazy prices. So, but still, I put it on the list, and I put all these things on the list. But, you know, interestingly enough, like, I did that because that was a way to turn money around. But when The Secret got released, I didn't care about any of it, because, and I didn't even care. All that mattered was that I had got it out into the world, and now it was in the world. It could never be taken away. And that is what mattered to me more than anything, is that was going to get into people's hands. And so, but still, I have to tell you, got all the things on the list. You know, there's amazing views out here of the ocean. I ended up by getting a Range Rover. And so, yeah, but I did a lot of practices.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is be who you are.
The best thing that could happen to everybody is that their greatest dream comes true. Because when your greatest dream comes true, the dream that where you are absolutely convinced that when this dream comes true, that is when I will really be happy. the best thing that can happen is that dream comes true, because when it does, you will realize that there is something missing, and that happiness that you thought you would have doesn't last. And so it's such a beautiful thing. And for people who have been successful, then they get to that point and they're like, they're not happy. And they're not happy because those things were never going to make you happy in the first place anyway. And so, but in terms of success, I would say this, that when you are who you really are, when you're living from the place more of who you are than who you are not, everything that you need and want will fall into your hands effortlessly. And you are actually, the infinite being is effortless. And the way to kind of tell who's in charge is whether it's the ego or the mind that's in charge, or who you really are that is in charge in any moment, is effort. And if you're efforting, if you can feel this efforting, then it's the ego and the mind. And if you're coming from a place of effortlessness, where athletes call it being in the flow, and everybody has these kind of descriptions, it's where the mind has stopped and just everything is flowing. You just feel like everything in the universe is just dancing your dance and singing to your song. And so in terms of success, when you are being more of who you are, that idea that was going to make you successful is what will come to you, that original idea, because the mind just recycles. That's all it can do. It's a program and recycles. And the ideas that business ideas that have never been on earth, they are coming from awareness. They are coming from above the mind. So when you are awareness, that is when everything will fall into your hands, everything that you need. And it just, your whole life flows and you're just happy all of the time.